Right now, you're listening to Right Now with Rhenotha, and this is a Right Now Diary. Today, I sat in my car in a suburban town not too far from where I live, and I watched life happen. Not the kind of life you see on television, not the kind of life people post on social media, just ordinary life. People were walking their dogs, parents were riding bikes with their children, seniors were out for a jog. Neighbors stopped to talk to one another as they passed by. Every now and then, a car would drive down the street, but there were no sirens, no speeding vehicles, no constant noise competing for attention. There was no garbage blowing across the sidewalk, just green grass, birds chirping, peace. But what struck me wasn't that I saw one family enjoying the neighborhood. It wasn't even two or three. It was person after person, family after family, all comfortably participating in something so simple: the freedom to enjoy their neighborhood, to walk, to talk, to ride a bike, to exist outside without feeling like you have to be on alert. And as beautiful as it was, I felt something unexpected: sadness, because I realized how badly I want that for myself. I want to be able to step outside my door and take a peaceful walk without worrying about traffic flying down the street. I want to hear birds more than sirens. I want to see neighbors connecting with one another instead of everyone rushing from one place to the next. I want the kind of neighborhood that invites people outside. The kind of neighborhood where community isn't an organized event. It's just what naturally happens. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my community. I've dedicated a significant part of my life to serving communities like the one I live in. I've invested my time, my energy, my talents, and my heart into helping making neighborhoods stronger. I've seen incredible people do incredible things with limited resources. I've watched residents become leaders. I've watched people fight for the blocks that they love. So this isn't a story about looking down on where I came from, and it isn't a story about abandoning my community. But if I'm being completely honest, something shifted in me while I sat in the car. I realized that I'm becoming someone who desires a different environment for my everyday life. Not because I'm better than anyone, not because I've stopped loving where I'm from, but because I've discovered that I long for peace, quieter streets and green space, and neighbors walking as a part of culture. I long for hearing birds more than sirens. I long for stepping outside and immediately feeling calm. And perhaps the biggest realization was this: I don't want to spend the rest of my life waiting for an entire neighborhood to become something different before I allow myself to experience those things. For years, I've believed in helping communities become better. I still believe that. But lately, I've been asking myself a different question. What if it's okay to want those things for myself too? What if it's okay to choose a life that includes the peace I've spent so much time wishing everyone else could have? That thought surprised me because for the first time, I wasn't just admiring the neighborhood I was sitting in. I was imagining what it might feel like to actually live in a place like that. Because the truth is, as I sat there, I wasn't looking at wealth. I wasn't counting the size of the houses. I wasn't paying attention to the cars parked in the driveways. What caught my attention was something much harder to buy: peace. The kind of peace that allows people to slow down, the kind of peace that invites children outside, the kind of peace that makes an evening walk feel normal instead of remarkable. And I realized something. Sometimes we become so accustomed to what we're surrounded by that we stop imagining something different. We accept noise because noise has become normal. We accept litter because we've grown used to seeing it. We accept speeding traffic because it's always been that way. But sitting there reminded me that another reality exists, a reality where neighborhoods know each other, where they feel comfortable to go for a run. For a moment, I found myself grieving that. Not because I was angry, not because I was bitter, but because I realized how much I wanted that feeling. I wanted that ease. I wanted that calm. I wanted that sense of safety. I wanted that feeling of belonging to a community that seemed designed for people to enjoy it. And then another thought crossed my mind. Maybe what I was feeling wasn't jealousy at all. Maybe it was clarity. Maybe I was finally being honest about the kind of environment I want to wake up in every day. Because there is a difference between loving a community and wanting to live a certain way, a big difference. And maybe both things can be true at the same time. Maybe I can continue to love the community that helped shape me while also acknowledging that I want something different for this next chapter of my life. Maybe I can continue believing in the potential of the neighborhood while choosing not to postpone my own peace. Maybe I don't have to wait. Maybe wanting more quiet, walkability, and calm isn't a betrayal of where I came from. Maybe it's simply an honest reflection of who I am becoming. As someone who has spent much of my adult life working in community, I know neighborhoods don't become places of peace by accident. They become peaceful because people care. Sitting in the car helped me realize something else. I wasn't looking for perfection. I wasn't looking at a life I've started to want for myself, a life where peace isn't something I visit, a life where peace isn't something I admire from a parked car, a life where peace is a part of my everyday experience. Maybe that's the real entry for today. Not that I found a peaceful street, not that I spent an afternoon watching strangers, but that I finally admitted to myself that I want that too. Not someday, not after everyone else figures it out, not after an entire neighborhood changes. I want it now. And for the first time, I gave myself permission to say that out loud.